So Parshas Mikeitz, like many of the Parshas in Sefer Bereshis, there are some fundamental questions to understand what is really going on. And in Parshas Mikeitz, we have this scenario of Yosef, in effect, putting his brothers through the ringer, accusing them of spies, etc., and then planting the goblet in Binyamin. I mean, this is Yosef Hatzadik. So this is not payback. This is not Nekama. So then why on earth is he doing this? So nonetheless, the person in the Ramban himself addresses this, and the Ramban writes, "Ulefi daiti ki bereis Yosef es echov mishtachem lo Yissocher es kol hachaloim es asher cholam lahem." Because when he sees his brothers bowing down in front of him, so he remembers now his dreams. Shlo niskayim echad mehem b'pam hazos, and he's thinking about the true dreams that he had and how they're not being fully fulfilled. And therefore, Yosef is going ahead and putting them through this so that they can finally reenact or act the dream that he had. And for that reason, Yosef is doing this. So Rabbi Kamenetsky, in his classic Sefer Emes Yaakov, writes, typically, "V'ofar anoichi tachas kapais raglov." I am dust under the feet of the Ramban. And he's saying this because he's going to disagree with the Ramban. So who is Rabbi Kamenetsky, a person of the 20th century, to disagree with the Ramban from the 12th century? And therefore, but aval hachim mitzvahs l'kayim chalaymes? I don't understand. Where is this mitzvah that if you have a dream, so that it has to go ahead and be fulfilled? And for that is so important to go ahead and put the brothers through this? And where is there such a mitzvah? It's up to Yosef to go ahead and to make this thing sure that it happens. So therefore, Rabbi Yaakov goes ahead and offers his own pshat of why Yosef is in fact doing all of this. And to put it succinctly, Rabbi Yaakov is saying is that Yosef is in fact teaching them a lesson. And it's a lesson that he feels that they have to learn. And that lesson is, don't be chesed b'ksherim, don't jump to the conclusions, don't accuse somebody of something until it's incontrovertible evidence. And we all jump to the conclusions and we assume certain things, and this whole thing was based on the fact that they came to the conclusion that Yosef is a rodef, that he's a pursuer, that he wants to kill them, and therefore they can go ahead and kill him because of the law of rodef. If someone's coming to kill you, you can go ahead and kill them. And this is all based on a mistake, a colossal mistake. And how did this come about? It came about as a result of jumping to the conclusions. Remember, this is Yosef Hatzadik. So why did they do this? And therefore, Yosef is going to try to show them that here, you must be wondering, what did this guy want from us? We're spies? He's going to give us spies? Why is he doing that? What is he doing? Oh, he's jumping at the conclusions. Jumping at the conclusions. Guess what? We did the same thing. And apparently they're not getting the lesson yet. Because when the goblet is found in the sack of Binyamin, they call him a ganef. You stole it. Now, this is their little brother Binyamin, who even though does not have the official title, but is Binyamin Hatzadik. So, guess what? You guys haven't chopped. You haven't learned the lesson. And therefore, I feel it's my duty to go ahead and to teach you this lesson once and for all, that you cannot go ahead and jump to conclusions. And sometimes things could be seen so, okay, this is absolutely, this is terrible. No. Sometimes there can be an innocent explanation to this. I read a story from Rabbi Isaac Bernstein, Zichrona Livrocha, who some of you may know him as the father of Rabbi Emanuel Bernstein. But he was a great darshan and a great, he really had some wonderful things, shiur on Chumash. So he went ahead and said over the following story about jumping to the conclusions. The Panovich Rav Yosef Shalom Kahanaman, called a meeting of all the Gedolim in Eretz Yisrael because the financial situation of the yeshivas in Eretz Yisrael at that time was thus intolerable. They had to do something. So he had all the Gedolim of that era come together for a meeting to come up with some kind of solution, some kind of eitzah. Among the participants was, of course, Rav Aryeh Levin, known as the tzaddik of our time, and he was. So he was there, and they're going ahead and discussing, and all of a sudden, Rav Aryeh Levin gets up and says, "I'm sorry, I have to excuse myself. I have a very important errand to run. I cannot wait, and I have to leave." So he left. Well, he left. They came to the conclusion nothing's going to happen without him anyway. So, let's call it quits. And the meeting fell apart without any conclusion. So Rav Kahneman, the Panovich Rav, is left the meeting, is walking down the street and passes a florist shop, and lo and behold, who's there in the florist shop? Rabbi Aryeh Levin. This was the important errand that you had to. Well, it's Mother's Day or it's your wife's birthday. That's why you have this is cannot wait. So he comes into Rabbi Aryeh Levin. He says, for this you have to leave the meeting, the important errand, to buy flowers. So he said, "I'm not buying flowers. I'm buying a potted plant." Said Panovich, "Okay, fine, a potted plant. I'm sorry." And that's so important? So he says, "Yes, it is. I have a very dear friend who's on the throes of death. And as he is in what was called then a sanatorium, and he was suffering from a disease, one of the versions of the story is it was leprosy. Or if it wasn't leprosy, it was something that was highly contagious. And when the patient died, they burned everything, all of his possessions, because they figured it would carry the disease. One of his possessions was his tefillin. And he knew that his son was his friend was terribly distressed that his tefillin will be burnt. The problem is he couldn't get the tefillin out. So Rabbi Levin came up with this ingenious idea. He'll go ahead and buy a potted plant, take out some of the dirt, and go ahead and bury the tefillin in the potted plant, because they were of the opinion that a living plant will not be contagious, won't accept the thing, and therefore he could go ahead, bring in the potted plant, bury the tefillin, take out the tefillin, and let his friend pass in this world without having worry that my tefillin will be burnt. Now, this is a classic. You leave the meeting, now you're in a florist. Come on. What could be the explanation? This could be the explanation. I once heard the name of Rav Hutner. there's every meter that there is, whether it's gaiva or whatever it may be. There is a place and time for everything. And sometimes, for instance, you have to show anger. Sometimes you have to show jealousy. Sometimes you have to go ahead and not make shalom and fight. Es milchama ve'es shalom. So Rav Hutner said, where does the midah of krumkeit, of thinking crooked, where is there ever opportunity for that? Rav Hutner says, yes, there is. To be dan lekaf schus, you have to think like this. It's krum via krucha. It's as krum as a pretzel. But there's a time and place for everything. And that was the lesson that Yosef wanted to teach them. Things can appear like he's a terrible person. What does this guy want from us? He's teaching us a lesson. Don't jump to the conclusions.